What's cooking good looking? Today is about Tower of Fantasy, a new MMO that you, I don't know, might have heard about. It's been pretty much everywhere for a while. It has also been called a clone of Genshin Impact. Is there some truth to it? Meh. Personally, I would say it's more a sibling than a twin to Genshin Impact, but there are a lot of similarities. The art style and even some of the gameplay are quite similar. However, in my opinion, there is enough differences to warrant a separate game. The biggest difference, at first glance at least, is that Genshin Impact is much more medieval fantasy, like classic fantasy with dragons and magic. And then on the other hand, you have Tower of Fantasy full of cyborgs, machinery, and the namesakes, the Towers of Fantasy, which you can actually climb, like those gigantic metal rods, and there might be something waiting up there. If you haven't tried it yet, maybe check it out. Today's recipe is actually a recipe straight from the game. Or at least I tried that. Because the recipe I decided on is called Purple Yam Pies. The icon for this recipe is not a pie. No, it doesn't look like one. It looks like arancini to me, like a fried rice cake, like fried rice balls you might find in Italy. I was a bit clueless at first, and then I decided, screw that, I'll just do what I want. And I decided to go with the icon instead of the name, because it doesn't look like pie and the ingredients are rice and purple yam in the game, so sweet arancini with a purple yam / sweet potato, we'll talk about that later, applesauce for dipping. These are the ingredients you'll need for today's dish: water, milk, eggs, sugar, short grain rice, I'm using Arborio, vanilla paste, flour, breadcrumbs, apples, purple yam or sweet potato, butter, and cinnamon. Check out the recipe in the description down below for the exact amounts. How about we start with one of my favorite topics, character customization. That was actually what got Tower of Fantasy a huge chunk of publicity when it launched on PC and mobile. People used a pretty detailed editor to recreate famous anime characters. It's admittedly what got me interested in the game. Not sure I would have gotten through the painfully cliché intro without this light at the end of the tunnel. After finally being allowed to roam freely, the game does pick up speed, at least in the area that I love more than anything else in MMOs: exploration. And I can't overstate how gorgeous the current 5 areas are. The cel-shaded anime look just works. And the joy of movement is further supported by mounts, swimming, a hoverboard, dashing, a jetpack, double jump, and the whole catalogue of relics that make exploring and fighting more enjoyable. You know what does the opposite though? Time gates. And I understand why free-to-play games need to somewhat limit playtime, so people don't rush all the content right away. But it sucks to reach a hidden chest and it says, will be openable in X hours. Good thing there's a lot of fighting to ease the frustration. There's wildlife, some Horizon Zero Dawn lookalike machine animals, various gangs, and the zombie-like aberrations, which play a big role in the story, which Tower of Fantasy actually has quite a bit of. And obviously there's also a ton of weapon variety and countless modes to use your guns, swords, and ring blade things in. But more on that later. For now, let's get cooking. Today we're starting unusually with cooking. Add the rice to a pot, then add the water. Stir a lot and bring it to a boil until most of the water is gone. Stir it a lot. Trust me, stirring is important. Add the milk, then the sugar, and finally the vanilla paste into the mix. And again, cook it on low-medium heat till it's thick and sticky. Transfer the rice into a container, evenly distributed, so it cools faster when you place it in the fridge for at least 4 hours, best overnight. Next, the sweet potato yam situation. So, I wasn't able to find any fresh purple yam. So I went with purple sweet potato, which is actually quite similar. Biggest difference being that the sweet potatoes are a bit drier. Whatever you end up using, cut it into chunks, after peeling it obviously. Then place those in a pot. Add enough water so everything is covered, and bring it to a boil. After cooking the pieces until they're tender and then draining the water, it should look like this. Next, apples. Peel and quarter them. Then decore, because you don't want those bits in your dip. Cut the apple quarters into chunks and add them to the potatoes. Add the butter and stir everything together. Look at these colors. Add a lid and cook until everything is softened up. Add more water if necessary till you have a consistency like this. Then blend everything, add a bit more water if necessary, and it looks like this. Amazing color. Next, you need a plate, the rice, and water. Don't forget the water. Wet your hands and form patties, I guess. We're going to make rice cakes, but it could look like a burger as well. Repeat until you're done with all the sticky rice. You should get 8, 9, maybe 10 patties out of the rice. And that's how the water looks, by the way. Now you're going to set something up that in German is called a breading street. Flour, breadcrumbs, and egg. First, whisk the eggs thoroughly. And then take the cakes / patties / if you want to trust the game, pies, put them in the flour, then in the whisked eggs, and finally into the breadcrumbs. Repeat the process with the rest of the patties and double dip if you want extra crunch. Add oil to a pot roughly halfway up and then heat it up. Look at this, it's mesmerizing. Once bubbles rise from an inserted wooden spoon, add the patties to the oil one by one until they're golden brown. Then fish them out with a slotted spoon and set them aside on a paper towel. This is how the final result should look. Nice and crunchy on the outside. Soft and milky white on the inside. Place them on a plate. Sprinkle with cinnamon and serve with the purple yam / sweet potato apple dip. Okay, let's talk about the gacha elephant in the room. In Tower of Fantasy, you don't unlock characters for your party. Instead, you bolster your weapon and simulacra arsenal. What the heck is a simulacra? In game lore, it's a weapon imbued with the memories and abilities of a character. For the player, it's a skin that they can put on their character, and it comes with a special unlockable skill. So you can, for example, play as this cool guy or this lovely lady. As this is a gacha game, you can't just buy these characters, you have to open loot boxes and get lucky. The necessary currency can be bought with real money, but exploration and just playing the game in general also rewards with quite a bit of it. One of my biggest problems is that there is no real way to test the weapons before unlocking them. But when I got to talk with the Hotter Studio devs, they actually liked the idea of a trial mode, so who knows what comes next? Well, actually we kinda do know. Artificial Island, version 1.5, which will add a new area and even housing. Oh, and did I mention that it will release in less than a fortnight? Between dungeons, multiple equipment upgrade systems, dream minigames, co-op missions, dailies, and befriending your favorite simulacra, there's so much to do in Tower of Fantasy. I almost feel like it needs a disclaimer. This is a virtual world. Don't get lost in here. Because you certainly could. It's a free-to-play gacha game. That's what it is, and that's, I guess, the thing you can consider bad. However, so far from my experience, I didn't have any issues. Neither with the gacha, nor with the free-to-play. I mean, I've gotten pretty lucky actually with my draws. I really can't complain. And it seems that I'm not the only one from what I've read online, so maybe this game's gacha system is just a bit more generous. The free-to-play aspect I often like to take as a challenge for myself. So yeah, I try to see how far I can get in a game without spending money before I spend money. Not sure it's the cleverest approach, but I would say it's kind of healthy. Of course, PvP is a completely different beast. I have no idea about PvP, so if you're into that, maybe look around a bit more to see if there are some more knowledgeable people, I'm sure there are, and yeah, make up your own opinion. In general, I've been having a really great time. The exploration, the joy of movement, I mean, oh, so many options from the jumping, the gliding, like, yeah, what else to say? I mean, there's an expansion coming out very soon, supposedly this autumn, and we're going to explore a desert zone. New enemies, new weapons, new simulacra, new dungeons, a new cyberpunky town called Arborio, and of course more story if that's something you're interested in. We're slowly catching up with the Chinese servers, and personally, I'm excited. That's it for today. I hope you will enjoy eating my take on this game's Purple Yam Pie as much as I enjoyed coming up with it. The recipe is, as always, down there in the description. If you decide to give it a shot, please send me a picture, tag me in one, or write me a comment. It always makes my day to hear about your experience. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Maybe even ring the bell on this video. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Hope your day's as good as gold. See you next time.